Welcome for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. After the presentation, we will conduct a question-and-answer session. To ask a question, you may press star then one on your touch-tone phone. Today's conference is being recorded. If there are any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to introduce the host for today's conference, Cody Dietrich. They may begin.
Hi, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. I greatly appreciate your time. The webinar is on construction opportunities in Nicaragua and Guatemala for U.S. firms. The government funds a lot of programs to assist U.S. companies sell their products and services in foreign markets. Here, the U.S. Department of Commerce's flagship event, Discover Global Markets, is focusing on the design construction industry. The event is scheduled to take place in Kansas City, Missouri, April 30th through May 2nd, 2018. This conference is focused on bringing global leaders in the design and construction sector with U.S. firms. Organizing today's webinar to highlight two of the projects being showcased at Discover Global Markets Design Plus Construction. These include New Century International Affordable Housing and the Interoceanic Corridor of Guatemala project. And information U.S. government assistance for exporters by the Export-Import Bank and the Small Business Administration will discuss today. At the end of this presentation, you will be asked to participate in a poll to inquire if you are interested in learning more about these projects and international projects being presented at Discover Global Markets Design Plus Construction. The U.S. Export Assistance Center and locally employed staff at our U.S. embassies around the world will follow up with interested parties to assist you in winning projects overseas. And this concludes my presentation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lillian Baez, and I am the commercial specialist at the embassy in Managua, Nicaragua. I'd like to tell you a little bit about doing business in Nicaragua and more specifically about the construction sector opportunities in Nicaragua. Let's just start by pointing that Nicaragua is the largest country in Central America by size. It's just a little smaller than New York State. It's also the safest but the poorest country in the region and has a relatively young population. Over the past several years, the country has experienced a sustained economic growth rate of around 4 to 5%, due largely to increased infrastructure development, domestic consumption, tourism inflows, agriculture, and growing remittances. The South American Dominican Republic Free Trade Agreement, or CAFTA, is what governs our trade relationship with the United States. The United States is Nicaragua's largest trading partner. In 2016, U.S. exports to Nicaragua totaled $1.5 billion. In context, Nicaragua's construction sector is particularly promising arena for U.S. companies interested in doing business in the country. Next slide, please. The grew 8% last year due to a combination of increased foreign investment, government-funded housing projects, and large infrastructure development funded by international financial institutions such as the IDB and the World Bank. We expect the construction sector to continue to grow in 2018, driven by the continued housing gap, the ongoing infrastructure projects, and increased private investment. I'll just mention that upcoming projects include several hospitals, ports, renovation of the Corinto port and a new port in the Caribbean coast, several highways, water systems, and the continuing housing development. This leads to a major demand in U.S. expertise in project management, design services, construction materials, prefabricated materials, etc. So there are several examples in the slides of some of the upcoming infrastructure projects, But we really want is U.S. technology and services in these projects. We want to help U.S. companies participate in these upcoming bids. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex de la Cruz. I am the President and CEO of Nicaragua International. We are a U.S.-based company. We're based in Miami, Florida. We have been doing business here in Nicaragua since the end of 2008. We came to this country for the first time just to take a look at the country and the opportunities that existed here. After visiting the country and the embassy and with their help, we discovered there was a great need in affordable housing. We entered the market by purchasing a piece of land and building a city that will be a small city, which is a large project. They're calling it a city because of its size. Right now, we already concluded the phase one, which is 200 affordable housing. We need an additional 2,200 homes, which is the largest development in Central America on one location. And it started from zero, from basically farmlands. That project not only holds over 20,000 people, but it has its own water and sewer system, which we also manage. It's totally enclosed by a wall which protects the individuals living there, making it one of the safest places to live in the country with its own security. And we have behind a development with wide concrete streets and sort of American-style design, which is being very accepted here in the country. We have been a pretty successful company in the affordable housing sector here in Nicaragua. Here, we're trying to do it's a couple of the Western designs that we see in the U.S. and it's very well accepted, attaining the affordable price, and that need continues to grow. So, in addition to doing a concrete and steel home, which is concrete, we're now partnering up with a company from the United States as well. The automotive industry, but they have a concept of a flex home, which is made out of PVC materials with steel. And the beauty of this design is that they could be creating kits that be built within a month in every remote location in the country. So not only allow us to sell homes in the developments that we're building, from infrastructure to a key in the hand, but also we can put homes in people's hands, as there's a large amount of individuals that have their own pieces of land and they would like to build a home in there. Right now, the limitations is the responsible kind of builders in the country that can go out and spread out throughout the country and build a house, and this will give us the opportunity to be able to place homes through the country at a pretty low price and a very good product that can sustain winds and rain and earthquakes and etc. Here in the country as well, we did everything from land movement, infrastructure, including the water, the sewer, the power, the pluvial waters, the roads, etc. So our expertise in building the infrastructure has opened up other opportunities. And as Lillian mentioned before, there's over $1 billion on the table right now that have already been, that the country already has financing for. They're just looking for individuals to be able to execute on them. And there's also a large amount of projects that are looking for funding and execution. So there's a large opportunity for companies that would like to come here and do infrastructure. The homes we build here are poured concrete and steel. And again, we're introducing this new product that gives us the flexibility to build warehouses, hospital clinics throughout the country without having to move all our equipment or heavy equipment and concrete mixers and etc. and give us the opportunities to build smaller projects in remote areas. So the flex building system should be available here at the end of the year. We're going to be ready to do business fairly soon. Some of my experiences here in Nicaragua, most experience have been very, very good. Key to success in there has been dealing with the U.S. Embassy, the department here. The department is up to date with all the laws and everything that's happening. Nicaraguan government, specifically Pro-Nicaragua. Pro-Nicaragua is a government agency that acts foreign investors and business people with the country's needs. So the key to success here in the country is dealing with the U.S. Embassy, Nicaraguan government through Pro-Nicaragua, and that's crucial for a foreign investor. Going back a little bit about the project, we started here, we bought land in 2009, basically farmland. There was absolutely nothing in it. And went from there to delivering a key to the consumer, all integrated within our company. Today we do designs, we do absolutely every single step to make sure the customer gets the key in. We also opened a small finance company, which, you know, there's a lot of micro lenders here locally, and it opened a space for us to be able to do a bit of mortgages and financing for our subcontractors and other small companies that need the help to get started. Into the country, we also have in mind doing a little bit of training in the construction area. We're training individuals to do one specific job, whereas people used to do helpers and help all the sectors. We train to be electricians, or we help them to do certain jobs specific where they can become a little more efficient. The last couple of years, we have entered another sector of the business, which is just doing infrastructure and doing large government jobs. We're clearly doing a border control unit between Nicaragua and Honduras. It's called Guatemala. What we're basically doing is rebuilding the whole cross-border port with the passengers, with the passenger terminals, the warehouse for inspections, X-rays. Through the borders is one of the most important borders in the region. You have passengers going by foot, passengers going by buses, vans, cars, a lot of cargo going through. So the safety is very important, especially nowadays that we have a lot of individuals crossing borders to get to other countries, and limiting the drugs and contraband that's going through there. So we're upgrading this port, and this is one of the latest jobs that we have in hand. American company, it took a little bit to understand the procedures of how to just start a bid and become a player in the bidding system here in the country. And with the help of the U.S. Embassy and the Nicaraguan government's agency, Pro-Nicaragua, they held hand the whole way through. And now we have that expertise down in our belt, and it allows us to have all these opportunities that are available. My company is an individually owned company. I'm the sole owner, so I have my plate full at the time, but I'm more than happy to continue to cooperate with the embassy and the Nicaraguan government to bring in foreign investors from the U.S. and give them the advice they need to get started here in the country. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
My name is Ana Polanco, and I'm a commercial specialist in the U.S. Embassy in Guatemala. Thank you for being with us. Guatemala is the northernmost country in Central America, with Mexico to the north and west. Guatemala has access to both oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific, and currently have 4 main ports, 2 in each ocean. Our population is estimated in 16 million. Guatemala's GDP reached out 70.9 billion in 2017. For 2018, our local sources anticipate a plus 3% growth rate in the overall economy. The United States and Guatemala have enjoyed a solid trade relationship for decades. We have very strong cultural and political ties. The agreement, DR-CAFTA, that my colleague Lilia mentioned before, is also in place between Guatemala and Central America and the United States. The agreement entered into force in Guatemala 12 years ago. These U.S. merchandise exports to Guatemala were $5 billion in 2016. That is 105% higher than the level in 2005, the year before the agreement entered into force. So this shows that having a trade agreement is very important for both countries because merchandise are flowing very well between the countries. U.S. products are imported almost with zero duty or very low tariffs under this agreement. And U.S. equipment is mostly entering Guatemala at a 0% tariff. This is to you, audience, because we're talking about construction and design materials. Guatemala is the largest market in the region for U.S. goods and services. The United States is Guatemala's largest trading partner, accounting for nearly 40% of Guatemala's trade. The goods surplus in Guatemala was $2 billion in 2016. Our economy is very open to trading with the United States. We're keen of buying U.S. brands as we relate them with quality and great service. Proximity to the U.S. is a key advantage to note. Why? Because U.S. firms offer post-sale service often. This is highly valued by the market. When you compare the experience that our buyers are having from competitors. Equipment is one of the sectors identified as best prospect in Guatemala. That depends 100% on imports for construction equipment. Next slide, please. I noted that Guatemala has an average of 1 kilometer of construction per person. The States, our side, 20 kilometers per person in roads. The Guatemalan government said that it is taking these numbers very seriously and will aim to reach 4 kilometers per person in the next years. These include terrace connections located in the rural areas. The severely poor infrastructure of Guatemala disables basic needs to be addressed, such as education and health. Of course, significantly is impacted by poor infrastructure. Regularly, you will hear that the private sector complains about millionaire losses due to not being able to transit freely among the Guatemalan roads. The government is discussing public-private partnerships among some solutions to overcome the lack of adequate road and infrastructure system. Guatemala City, with a population of nearly 5 million, main city and where most business occurs. Migration from the rural areas and surrounding towns occurs at a fast pace. So this is becoming a scarce resource in the city. For this reason, we have noted that vertical housing and constructions are at a rise in Guatemala. There are opportunities to participate in these projects of private high-rise construction. I learned that the municipality is planning to approve 90 building constructions within this year. So that for a small city, that is a bunch of high-rise buildings. Industry sources that they will be importing materials for these buildings when their approval for licenses takes place. To complete projects mostly privately owned, there will be a demand for machinery, materials and supplies, prefabricated supplies, hardware, interior design, landscaping, decoration, smart environment counseling, light equipment, and technology. Also, I would like to note 240 million projects to construct a space for public administration buildings to be consolidated in one area in Guatemala City. bidders have been pre-qualified for these projects, and soon we might see the big tender coming up. Another important is in the interoceanic dry corridor. You will hear about it later today. And the upgrade of the facilities for the 2 airports in Guatemala. This is estimated at a $200 million project. Still feasibility studies, but it will come up soon. And I'm open to discussing other projects. For now, this will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Guillermo Catalán, President of the Sistema Interoceánico de Guatemala, owner of the Interoceanic Corridor of Guatemala, that will be the 21st century trade route in trading connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. In the northernmost country in Central America, will be positioned complementary to the Panama Canal and to the United States land bridges. They propose to build a state-of-the-art infrastructure for modal transportation system. It will 2 new deep water ports, one on the Atlantic and one on the Pacific Ocean, connected by a point-to-point one-stop railway. The corridor will also allow for coast-to-coast pipelines and connections or bunkering facilities on both sides. The saturation of the transport infrastructure, the queues in Panama Canal and its preferential services, as well as the high cost of the U.S. land bridge, on top of an expanding fleet of super carriers that can use the Panama Canal, provide the Interoceanic Corridor of Guatemala with the opportunity to serve logistic market that currently seeks alternative routes to cross coast to coast. Why Guatemala? Guatemala is a privileged geographical position 1,200 miles away from the main markets of North America. In addition, its constitutional law provides the legal framework to be able to build and operate the Interoceanic Corridor as 100 private-owned projects. Comparative advantage. The corridor reduces the distance and time compared to the Panama Canal, saving 7 to 6 days of travel to containers in the either Asia, the United States route, including up to 8% of cost. This reduction is achieved as the liners will have the chance to take profit of using vessels bigger than those which can pass through Panama Canal. In of the U.S. land bridge, the project allows to save up to 4% operation cost considering the same route. Very much.
My name is Larry Holyfield, and I am the only American on the board of directors for the Sistema Interoceánica de Guatemala. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about IDB bank letters and some other topics. Through the eligibility process in 2004, private sector department of the Inter-American Development Bank issued 3 letters of interest expressing that they could participate by using a proportion of own funds and with syndicated debt to finance the infrastructure of the project. In 2005, after the announcement of the Panama Canal expansion, the IDB requested new studies. These studies were conducted by consultants known to the IDB as Global Insight, Taylor DeLong, Holcrow, and Hogan Harston. When concluded in 2007, the IDB Bank issued a last letter reiterating its interest pending on resolving whether the land control could be achieved. We're achieving that land control right now. Central government support. In addition, the project's been declared a public utility and net interest through the government resolution issued in 2013, where the President of Guatemala, in Council of Ministers, declared that promotion, construction, and operation of the Interoceanic Corridor of Guatemala will allow the country to develop. For this reason, the state of Guatemala protects the past, present, and future investments made in the project. Municipal agreements. Even though it is a private project, the focus on social inclusion, where communities are no longer just host communities, but shareholding communities, and partners obtain benefits directly with vision. The project has been structured within the framework of a local public-private partnership where associations of municipalities, municipal governments, and communities and agree to participate and support the implementation of the project. Thank you very much.
Enrique Uribarri, and I'm project manager in Royal Haskon in DHB. Core project needs. SIGSA, the owner of the project, proposes a series of administrative, technical, and financial activities to bring the project to its building phase. First, SIGSA needs to tease the participation of major contractors, port and railway operators to conduct the executive building and operation studies and execution for containers, railroad, oil and LNG port terminals, gas pipelines, and industrial logistic and service zones. 4 steps for the project development are as follows. 1. Establish an equity per services agreement with one or several major contractors as project managers to develop the construction and operational studies at the execution level to call for EPC packages for construction under a DBOT schema. The packages are as follows. A, 2 latest generation container ports located at both the Pacific and the Atlantic coast of Guatemala. B, 1 railway line 370 kilometers long. Provide efficient transshipment stations at both sides. C, the possibility to allocate pipelines and communication lines along the corridor. D, the possibility to allow fuel and bunkering port facilities at both sides. E, the ability to allocate industrial, logistic, and services zones at both sides and along the corridor. Specifically, we are looking for firms that with the technical knowledge to design, build, and or operate the above packages. And B, firms with the capacity to supply equipment and technology for infrastructure. Thanks very much. This concludes my presentation.
This is Elizabeth Thomas with the Export-Import Bank of the U.S., also known as EXIM. And today I'm going to touch at a very high level on 3 ways that EXIM supports U.S.-based exporters. We're going to talk about how we provide access to working capital to improve cash flow and liquidity. We're going to touch on how we empower exporters to offer competitive open account credit terms to your foreign buyers while reducing the risk of non-payment on receivables generated by international sales. And we're going to talk about offering term loans for your foreign buyers. So the first thing is working capital loan guarantee. And this is a guarantee to a commercial lender which makes a loan to an exporter to purchase or manufacture U.S. goods and services for export. So what does that mean? Let's look at an example. Let's say you get a $30,000 order from an international client, and you really want to take this order, but you don't have cash around to build the product or the service that you need to fulfill this order. So you go to your bank, you ask your bank for a $30,000 loan. Your banker, he or she would really like to do the loan with you, but they're hesitant because there's some risk in your portfolio. Well, working with EXIM, we work with you, the exporter, and we work with your bank to put together a guarantee to your bank for up to 90% of the loan. So there's a maximum amount, and these loans are generally 1 year or less. And you can use the proceeds from the loans for a number of different things. You can use it to buy labor and materials or pay for overhead to manufacture your exported products or goods. You can also use it to pay off existing lines, and you can use it to finance bid and performance bonds. The second thing that we're going to touch on is export credit insurance, and this is a way to protect yourself or to protect the receivables that are generated from your international sales. Export credit insurance is an insurance policy, the same way you have an insurance policy on your house or on your car. In this case, what the policy is protecting are those receivables generated from international sales. There are 3 reasons why you want export credit insurance. 1, we've touched on a couple of times, it protects those receivables from non-payment. The The second reason is it's a very effective sales tool. So a lot of exporters want their international clients to pay cash in advance. Well, that's great if you can take it, get it all, if you can get it, take it all day long. However, if you're asking for cash in advance, you are likely restricting the number of clients you're going to be able to do business with. International clients expect to pay on open account credit terms the same way your domestic clients do. And so having export credit insurance impels you to offer open account credit terms, knowing that those receivables are insured. And then the third thing is export credit insurance is a financing aid. So you go to your bank, you ask for this loan, and look at your assets. If you have receivables that are generated from international sales and they are not insured, your bank is likely not to include them in your borrowing base. If you insure those receivables with export credit insurance, your bank is likely to include those in your borrowing base, so you have more to borrow from. Another example, let's go back to our $30,000 order. This is an example of one type of insurance policy that we have. So we're going to go back to our $30,000 order. So you're a client, a national client, first time you've done business with them, and you want to do business with them, but they're requiring 60 days open account terms. So they want 60 days to pay. You're going to ship your $30,000 worth of goods. They're going to take 60 days to pay you. With our Express insurance, you could insure those receivables for 55 cents per $100 of the gross value of the invoice. So what this means is that on a $30,000 sale, you'd be covered for $28,500 or 95% of the invoice for a premium $195. It's a very financially attractive insurance policy for small businesses. The third thing I'll touch on very quickly is foreign buyer financing. So we can be a source of financing for creditworthy international buyers. This is typically for large capital equipment sales and related services, offering competitive terms for up to 7 years and on deals that are less than $10 million. There are a few restrictions for doing business with us. We do not support military or defense-related products. There are about 196 countries in the world. We are open in 180 of them, including the countries we are talking today. And your products must ship from a U.S. port. We are doing business in both Nicaragua and Guatemala today, and some of the projects that we have financed there or have worked on there include residential building construction, pharmaceutical manufacturing, and paper and manufacturing sales. And that concludes my presentation.
Good everybody, this is Bill Howe. I'm the regional manager for the Office of International Trade for the Mid-Atlantic at the U.S. Export Assistance Center in Arlington, Virginia. A summary of our 3 export loan guarantee programs. In fact, as Elizabeth mentioned, these are loan guarantees, meaning that VA sits in the background and provides 90% guarantee to the bank, so that to encourage them to lend to small business exporters. I'm going to focus strictly on Guatemala. This is a kind of a design and build webinar, and so we can support contracts, engineering, architectural, any type of service contract that is made directly with a foreign Guatemala company, government. We support the financing of that purchase order or contract. The first program, the Export Express program, that can cover a company's general export development activities. So if you are going to go after a particular project and you do a feasibility study and you need to run the working capital for that, the Export Express program can support financing of that feasibility study. So any export-related activity, including time to spend in Guatemala to review a project, any export activity can be financed under that program. And then once a company will get into a larger types of transactions, the export working capital guarantee come into play for purchaser financing, single transaction or multiple transaction financing. Elizabeth mentioned we will support the financing of big performance bonds Please note that if you were going to work with the Guatemala government on a contract, or you become a sub to a prime there, they require evidence of financial wherewithal through bid bond. If you were to with a bank conventionally, the bank would require 100% cash collateral. Find that under Ex-Im Bank and SBA, we are only going to require 25% cash collateral to support those bid bond standby letters of credit. And lastly, if projects in Guatemala are going to require hiring of numerous Spanish-speaking professionals for equipment to be taken to Guatemala to be used there, the trade load can finance extension $5 million. SBA's $5 million limit is the minimum amount that SBA will take exposure on with an individual company. But that's used for hiring people. If you need to hire folks, you need to expand your operations here in the United States to support engineering, design, what have you. You can use that program to finance that type of activity. Permanent working capital and equipment is tech financing, and if you need to build out your facility in the United States, you can get a 25-year financing for real estate. That's my presentation.
This is Matt Baker with the U.S. Commercial Service, part of the Department of Commerce. I'm Director for Global Design and Construction Programs and also the Project Manager for Discover Global Markets. Discover Global Markets is really the flagship event by the U.S. Department of Commerce to bring international opportunities to U.S. companies. It's our chance to really engage the projects, the project owners, the developers, and bring them to the U.S. to meet one-on-one with the U.S. firms that supply both design, construction, and product-based exports. Our upcoming event, Discover Global Markets, Design+Construct, in Kansas City, April 30th through May 2nd. This is the 17th iteration of this event, but the first one that's focused specifically on design and construction. These events are really and focused around the one-on-one engagement for U.S. firms. So U.S. firms that can participate would be able to speak to all of the speakers that have presented, or all of the presented here today. So SBA, Ex-Im, they'd speak with New Century International or Intiano. They would be able to speak to embassy representatives from Nicaragua, Guatemala. I would say all will probably have 35 project owners, developers, architects, and engineers who are going to be here seeking suppliers and partners, and that they're going to represent now 13 different countries. We'll all be able to meet with U.S. primes in the market, so Bechtel, Black & Veatch, Hill International, Jacob, CH2M Hill, and the Digit Group are all going to be looking for U.S. suppliers, as well as you'll be able to have a opportunity to meet the 25 different U.S. embassy representatives that cover design and construction from those 25 markets to sit down and discuss counseling and advisory, be able to talk about partnership and distribution development, or any type of market intelligence that you might need to successfully enter a market. Be able to provide after the call the listing of all 35 of our international executives, which represent project owners, developers, architects, and engineers. They have descriptions of the companies, as well as some of the prior U.S. companies that they've worked with on projects, along with buying needs they have. And thank you to all those who presented here today, because this is just a sampling of the opportunity that's going to be available at this event, and sharing more details with you after the call. Conclude my portion.
Operator, this is Cody Dietrich. I'd like to now open the polling portion of the webinar. Please let me know when this is ready.
Please.
Okay. If you would like to learn more about Discover Global Markets, Design+Construct, and opportunities discussed today, please press the star key and number 1 on your phone now. Interested parties will receive follow-up from their local U.S. Export Assistance Center to discuss how locally employed staff and commercial diplomats can assist you in winning projects overseas. So please press star 1 now if interested. Okay, my pleasure, the operator. Please let me know if you were able to capture those interested parties.
I was able to capture those participants.
Okay, great. And we will follow up with them upon the conclusion of this webinar. So next we will move to the question and answer session. Operator, please give the instructions for the question and answer.
Thank you. At this time, if you would like to ask a question, please press star then 1 on your touch-tone phone. You will be prompted to record your first and last name. To withdraw your request, press star 2. Wanting to ask a question, press star then 1 now.
And we'll wait for those questions to load. If I could ask a question that came in over chat, and this is either for in Guatemala or Nicaragua. They ask, what is the best mode of delivering goods into the Caribbean region? So, and do you have any comments or response to that on logistics concerns for delivering goods into Guatemala and Nicaragua?
I guess I'm here with Lilium. The question is, what is the best mode? What do you mean by that? The best method of transportation?
Yeah, this came from Kirby. So if you get a chance, please press star 1 to ask a question.
Okay, Lilium.
Bodie, we are currently, we have a small port in the Caribbean, in El Rama, but most of our goods for Nicaragua go in through Port of Corinto. I hope that answers the question.
And I have opened Ms. Rubio's line.
Thank you. So I want to know if there are any airports that they use to do goods and services to the area of Nicaragua and for model as well.
Hi, Karen. This is Lilian Baez from U.S. Embassy, Managua. Yes, we have our airport in the capital city of Managua. That is our international airport where most of the goods go into.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your question. This is Ana Polanco from Guatemala. We also have ports in the Pacific and in the Atlantic side. I guess based on where you are, where you located. If you're on the Pacific side, you might want to enter to Port Quetzal. If you are in the Atlantic side, there's another port there. That is how we usually import larger volumes. We also have the La Aurora International Airport located in Guatemala City, and it is very active with international transactions, commercial transactions. I hope these leads that answer. And also because we are located at the south of Mexico, there is some goods coming via trucks or containers to Mexico into Guatemala and then throughout the rest of the Central American region. Hope this is helpful for you.
Yes, to answer your question, I'm based in New York State, and my last question is, as far as delivering the goods and services to the final destination, is it recommended to use a local listed company to pick up the items from the airport?
Well, in my experience, this is Ana again. Once you select your shipping company or logistics company in New York, for example, they usually have agreements with local companies that will finalize the transaction from here. And if you would like, I would be more than happy to get in touch with you via email, or we can continue. I can call you separately to discuss any further details. I am most happy to counsel you on that. But usually your company will be associated with one of our locals to finalize the import procedures.
And then what is the best email to follow up with you at?
I will let Cody send it to you. It's ana.polanco@trade.gov.
Okay, that.
But our organizers will have yours, and I'll get in touch with you.
Thank you so much.
Same for Nicaragua. I will also get in touch with you. Thank you.
Do you have any additional questions online, or would you like to go to the audio?
I have any personal questions? Yeah, please open the next person for a question.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Roger Morgan. Your line is open. Line is open.
Okay, this is Roger. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm interested to know when you speak of affordable prices for housing in Nicaragua and Guatemala, what price level are you seeking?
Hi, this is Alex de la Cruz. I'll be answering that question. The home prices here, the affordable pricing of the houses that I sell are anywhere from $19,000 all the way up to $37,000. The government recognizes houses as affordable housing for anything below $40,000 here in Nicaragua.
Okay, great. Is there long-term financing available?
Traditional banking is available for them. In addition to traditional banking financing, the government does have programs where they give banking institutions certain funds at a certain lower rate. So there's additional financing for affordable housing. In addition to that, the country has a program where they give individuals, first-time home buyers that qualify, a $2,000 down payment on their behalf. And they also give them anywhere from a 1.5% to 3% discount on their interest rate to help the deficit of the affordable housing sector.
And what would the normal interest rate be?
The normal interest rate here in the country, it's around 9.5% at the current time. So to give an example, if somebody buys a $30,000 house, be required, let's say, a 10% down, $3,000. The government helps with $2,000 of that, which they never have to pay back. Financing $27,000, of which normal rate would be 9.5%, but to get a 2.5% subsidy, leaving it at 7% rate.
Okay, sounds good.
Then from Guatemala's end, I am going to follow up with you separately, as I don't have that level of detail information available, but I will follow up with you today via email.
That'd be, all right, one question, since I have you, is Exim Bank is supporting residential housing, from what I heard, Do they offer long-term financing on real estate, like 5 years, or is it limited to 7 years?
At the moment, it's limited to 7 years in projects of less than $10 million.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our call comes from Mehdi Azimi. Your line is open.
Good morning, everybody. So we've got 6 minutes into the morning here in Houston, Texas. I guess my first question would be for Mr. Alex de la Cruz for the developments in Nicaragua. I'm wondering, we are a civil engineering firm. We're an infrastructure engineering firm in Houston, Texas, and we do a lot of work overseas too, both for U.S. government, private clients, city developments, and those type of work. What are the engineering needs, design engineering services for projects that you are performing, or are there other upcoming projects in Nicaragua?
Hi, how are you? Good morning to you. Yes, there's a tremendous need here in Nicaragua for that type of expertise. There are current firms here locally which do the current work at hand. But having said that, there's tremendous need for certain expertise. To give an example, I was asked about experience in building jails, for example. And there's no one here in the country that has executed any type of jail design or execution in the last 30, 40 years. So there's not a lot of that expertise at the current time, so they have to go outside to find that specific expertise. When it comes to certain type of hospitals, certain type of buildings, certain type of bridges. Here in Nicaragua, there's a huge need for infrastructure. A lot of that infrastructure, it's the first time they do it, so it's hard to find local expertise when they have never done it in the country. So they do seek for external civil engineers and designers to come do this type of work, and they do accept qualifications of work done in other countries. So I would tell you that I have a list of projects that are currently, they already have financing, and they're just trying to bid it out. And you would probably qualify for a lot of those. There's also a lot of projects that they're currently looking for financing. They all pretty much require a design piece to it, or a design and execution piece of it.
I guess, Alex, if there's a way for us to get connected, that would be perfect. We will be coming next month to the conference in Kansas City. I don't know if you will be.
Yes, I will be there.
All right, then I'll try to send you a meeting request. The website that they have over there. Hopefully we can get together and probably see where we can synergize on projects.
Look forward to it.
Thank you much. My next question is for Ms. Elizabeth Tubbs. The question I had was, does export credit insurance, will that apply to providing engineering design services to international clients overseas?
Yes, it applies to services as well as to manufactured products. So we have policy with riders for services as well.
Includes countries in the Middle East as well?
We're on a country-by-country basis. There's a country limitation schedule on our website, and you can look country by country to see where we're open.
All right. Well, I've got your email.
Or if you'd like to send me an email, please send me an email, and I can contact you directly.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Great. And please list the specific countries you're interested in.
Sure, we'll do that. I guess my next question would be for Mr. Guillermo Catalan. At the interoceanic project that you mentioned, and again, we are infrastructure and engineering company. We do all sort of civil engineering, rail, coastal services, electrical, mechanical, all sort of engineering design. I was wondering in what stage your project is. Is it all designed, or you guys still need engineering services for design?
We are in the stage of a pre-facility, and we have a project manager, constructor, to make the reference term for all the details of the engineering and other technical parts. Maybe Enrique, can you explain a little bit more?
Yes, yes. Well, the project has been studied at a pre-feasibility level. It's a very big project that to be developed by steps, by phases. It's related to the demand of cargo that will cross across the isthmus of Guatemala from side to side on a dedicated train. So, yeah, there are still a lot of needs regarding specific design needs for all these patches in which the project will be divided. There is also a need for strategic partnership with major contractors and port and railway operators in order to get enough critical mass to develop the remaining steps. But the project has been considered feasible, and it has to develop a lot of these services and projects.
Okay. Well, I have Mr. Catalan's email. I'll try to continue and coordinate with you. And our firm provides rail services, coastal services, civil infrastructure, highway, bridges, those sort of design. And we know several, operators and large companies that probably could help and, be interested. So I'll try to follow up and contact and coordinate with you separately. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you much.
So you're welcome. Thanks very much.
Next question comes from Addie Bensignor. Your line is open.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adi. I'm with Thermosteel. Thermosteel is out there for about 50 years, and we are basically providing residential, commercial systems for people. We have a lot of experience with South America, in terms of buildings in British Virgin Islands, Caribbean, U.S. Virgin Islands, Mexico, and so on and so forth. Well familiar with the affordable projects, build the $40,000 benchmark, and we've done these a lot in the past. I would really like to see if there is anybody that we can follow up with in order to build that relationship and talk further about that in order to provide the services. We also do internally the entire process of design and build, and basically we are sending down there the finalized product. If there's somebody that we can build up that relationship, that would be great.
Based?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can connect you with local specialists that would be able to connect you with partners in the market.
If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1. Our next one comes from Larry Lynott. Your line is open.
Yeah, this is Larry Lynott. My company is ARG Global Development. We're located in Washington, D.C. My question is relative to Nicaragua. We're specialty is architectural design. We're specialized in the healthcare market. And I have interest in understanding more relative to the hospitals that were mentioned. And the system in Nicaragua, is it a full system, private, or a combination of both? That's my question.
This is Lillian Baez. Yes, it is a combination of both. both. I can call you later and give you more details on all the developments with the hospitals, because there's a lot of investments being made by the World Bank and IDB, and there's about 12 hospitals that are already financed that are going to be built in the next couple of years. And like Alex de la Cruz was saying, there's very little expertise here on the building and equipping of hospitals. So that's what we've been trying to reach out to U.S. companies to find U.S. technologies and U.S. construction companies to help build these hospitals. So we'll get in touch with you because we have a lot of information and market research that we've done on these upcoming hospitals.
That's my question. Do you have our contact information?
Yeah, we'll be getting it from Cody. We will be getting, I think, a list of participants from Cody after the call.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That was my question.
So I'd like to add in, this is Matt Baker. The Discover Global Markets event is really, it's going to be a location for the greatest concentration of these U.S. government resources that we're going to have in this particular segment. So, like I said, Lilium is going to be there from Nicaragua, Ana from Guatemala, but they'll have 22 of our other colleagues there who you can sit down one-on-one and discuss the very specific ideas and questions that you have about the market. It's a great opportunity to come to one place and have everyone there to sit and discuss your specific market needs.
And what are you considering being there? Thank you.
I'm showing no additional questions.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Bill Hulk from SBA.
Just a couple of questions, and I don't know if it was covered earlier, but one, give maybe a summary of the availability of skilled labor in Guatemala. I know contractors are always looking at, real skilled labor for construction projects, and then also construction bonding. Is it readily available through companies in Guatemala, or are they going to be looking for international carriers of construction bonding?
Anna, can you repeat your question, sir? For a second, I was not able to hear it. I heard Guatemala was mentioned.
The first question was the availability of skilled labor, construction labor. I know I've spoken with your contractors that want to pursue overseas contracts, but they're concerned about skilled labor, reliability, and labor, etc. And then also the ability of construction bonding. Are there carriers within Guatemala or that going into some of these larger projects, construction bonding is going to be required?
Okay, your first question, my answer is yes. Guatemala is very well known for very skilled construction workers being available. I think we have that covered and under our laws. And the construction binding, I am not sure I understand the question very well. Are you still on the line? Do you need to comment on that? Or not, I will send this answer in writing to you.
You can complement the information by greeting today afternoon about how to bind the contract.
Okay. So I will ask for Cody to give me your email address, and I will respond to you promptly.
Thank you.
I'm showing no additional questions on the audio side.
Okay, operator, and in respect of the present time, I'll take this to conclude the presentation now. Thank you all for joining. This is Cody Dietrich. I'll be sending a follow-up email to all the attendees for the webinar, and please let me know if you have any follow-up questions or need assistance making contact with some of the presenters today. And that concludes this webinar for today.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining today's conference. That does conclude the call at this time. All participants may disconnect.